Okay, now today we are very happy to invite Mr. John Stevenson to be our program, to be the best guest. So, John,
Thank you.
we know you are running the company, the 超越教育集团. Talk about your company and your idea. What's the idea behind it?
Yeah, well, our company, basically there's a lot of camps and summer programs for kids, but they're very focused on academics. But I learned over time that I think most youth today, they need more help in their character development or virtues. So our camp's more geared towards finding your values, finding the value system that you want to use to kind of help you through your life.
Okay, now when you talk about the virtue, nowadays in Taiwan, people are very certain to talk about virtue. Especially nowadays, the politician, they don't know what is the virtue is. So can you talk about your idea about the virtue?
Yeah, I think if you look at your greatest teacher, Kongzi, he taught virtue, right? So I think virtue has traditionally been something that Chinese culture has been really strong at teaching. Unfortunately, I think with science, and I think as we've tried to become more efficient, we are using standardized testing. We're using different metrics to try to measure how well people do. And so even our education system for business wants to teach kids how to analyze and make decisions. So that kind of is against, so it's become very, I don't know how to say, it's very standardized, very kind of robotic. But if you don't have virtues with that, then when they make the decisions, they might make the wrong decision that's not very good for society. And so I think that's kind of lacking now. So I think that's why you're getting a lot of, one is you're getting a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. Kids are breaking down, suicide rates. You have that issue. You also have problems within companies themselves with ethics. Companies are making a lot of bad decisions. We see that every day in the news. Companies that are cheating shareholders or making bad product.
Okay, understood. And can you introduce in your camp or in your education program, what are the virtues that you emphasize?
Well, we basically kind of go backwards. We start with decisions. So we have 6 decisions you're going to make about which all teenagers will make. So those decisions are school, your friends, how you're going to treat your parents, dating, how you're going to date, addictions, so like internet addiction, things like that, and then self-worth, how you view yourself. So through those 6 decisions, we try to teach them different value sets like tenacity, self-control, trust, loyalty, self-discipline, honesty. These are kind of the values. So we get them to talk about these values and how they would make a decision, which of these values they would use when they make that decision. So that's how they kind of come up with these value propositions.
When you talk about honesty, I'm very interested about honesty this point. Because people used to say my word is my bond. So when I talk about something, I should be trust, or that is my credit. So talk about nowadays the politician, if they talk about some policy, but after that they don't apply that. What's your point?
Yeah, that's a problem. In my opinion, one of the things I'm sad about is I see that Taiwan's political system is very much similar to the United States political system. And right now, it's, people are going to lie and say things to get votes. And, in the United States, I don't care if it's a Democrat or if it's a Republican, they're probably not telling the whole truth. Or they're throwing great ideas out there without any substance to back them up.
Yeah.
So I think that trust and loyalty is really important. I think that's one thing that society, especially Western culture, and as we see that being exported to Asia, I see that in Asia too, trust is very important, and it is your word. And if you look at society, when you can't trust people, what happens? This is what we're seeing now in the United States.
Yeah, it's just like writing a check, but the check bounces.
The check bounces, and then people don't trust each other, so you can't get anything done. There's no compromise. What we call tribalism in the United States. You start these little tribes, like that person's with me or against me. Yeah. So we have a lot of problems like that in society now.
Understood. Okay. Then we talk about the mother language. Nowadays, people in the press or on the press, they talk about mother language or mother tongue a lot. What's your opinion about the mother language?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think that culture, your heritage. For example, my son, I'm married to a Taiwanese Hakka woman. So my son is half
best decision.
Yeah, she's half Hakka. He's half Hakka and half American, right? Caucasian, and his Caucasian side has a lot: German, British, French. So he's been very confused, right? And so I think your sense of identity comes from your background and who you are. And I think language is, well, if you look at the definition of culture, part of a culture is your language. Your language is a very important ingredient or part of a culture. So once that language dies, your culture, your background, your heritage dies. Yeah. So I think that's really important that you must. So I know the current mayor of Kaohsiung, a presidential candidate, Han, he's talked a lot about getting it out of the schools. You know, I don't know, maybe within the school system, maybe, but I think that there definitely needs to be some emphasis on trying to retain, because I think one of the richnesses of Taiwan is all these different cultures. You have the Yinzuming, right? You have Hakka, you have Minnan, Neo-Wai Senren. I mean, Taiwan's a fascinating country for such a small place. Yeah. So I think that's very important.
Yeah. You know why people nowadays in Taiwan, they are so concerned about the mother language? You know, back in 1970 something, when I was third grade in the elementary school, if I spoke dialect, I will be fine. I'm wearing a dog tag on my neck. So you cannot imagine from your society or from the Americans' view. So that's why we are so emphasize the Hakka should be taught in school and the family. So that should be the value of the Taiwan society.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've talked about before in school. I would like to see English. I think Taiwan's English ability is actually lagging in Asia.
It needs to be improved.
It needs to be improved a lot. It's actually somewhat embarrassing to me because Taiwan's a very big trade partner with the United States. And I think Taiwan has a lot of potential, but it would be, the English language is important for international trade. So I think Taiwan could do, not just look at test scores. Taiwan's problem is the government just looks, whether it's green or blue, they want to get those test scores. Oh, our international test scores are really good. Who cares what your international test scores are? Can you actually do business? Can you actually speak to me in English? Can a traveler, a tourist come into Taipei or Kaohsiung and not worry about getting lost? And because he's going to be pretty easily to find somebody that they can speak English with, right? So these are problems that I see Taiwan has. But in terms of mother tongue, that's why would people come to Taiwan to travel? Why? Because they want to experience these rich cultures, these different cultures. And that you have to have your mother tongue. So where or how it's taught, I think that's debatable, but I think it's a must. You must maintain those cultural heritages.
Yeah, so that's the parallel issue, because if you learn international language, you can learn the dialect at the same time. So do you know the policy that by 2030, the Taiwan will be the bilingual language country? You don't know, right?
I don't know that policy, no.
Okay, yeah, this policy will be emphasized during the this is already the policy. By 2030, Taiwan will be bilingual, which means the Taiwan Mandarin and English will be taught in the school. So that's parallel policy.
Yeah, the problem with that is in 2030, who do you hold accountable if it's not executed?
Well, from now on, it's already the policy.
Right. Yeah. So that's why I'm just hoping. I know Tainan Mayor Lai was mayor, Lai Ching-te was mayor of Tainan.
Yeah.
They have Tainan's a dual language city.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I don't want to. I haven't been there, and I don't know. But a lot of times policies are made, but they're not followed through, not executed well. So one thing I've noticed in Taiwan, I would like to see is better execution of policy.
Okay.
It's easy to kind of say something,
Okay.
and actually even write it into a law. It's a lot harder to actually have a plan to execute it, right?
I know what you mean. So you mean that the current government, no matter central or the local, should emphasize more resources in the language education.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Execution. Well, and also how. It's throwing money at a problem is not always the best way. Do you have the right teachers?
Okay.
Are they, even in business? So for example, I live in Kaohsiung. And I'm not an English teacher, but when I walk down the street, everybody asks me, "Are you an English teacher?" So it seems like the only thing a foreigner can do in Kaohsiung is be an English teacher. They can't be a businessman. They can't work for a Taiwan company, right? So these things, I would like to see Taiwan open up a little bit more, bring in more, not just Americans. You have a rich pool of young talent from these small countries that Taiwan has diplomatic relations. Say Eswatini, good example. I think Belize. So you have these students that are here from these countries, and they study until they can't study anymore, then they go home. What if we work them into, they're not going to take that many jobs.
Yeah.
Let's work them into some of our companies and get them kind of working with Taiwan. I think that would help Taiwan a lot internationally. And then they're going to be interested in learning Hakka, or they're going to be interested in learning Taiwanese. They're going to be interested in these mother tongues.
Take myself as an example. I learned English because I was working for a British company. I need to negotiate the sales target. If I don't negotiate the target, then my British boss will increase the target all the time. So I need to debate. I need to negotiate down the target. So that's why I need to learn English.
Yeah.
But can you give us some suggestion, maybe to the central government or to the local government? How can they allocate the resources? What's their policy to execute the bilingual language?
Yeah, I don't know because I'm not working in the government, but I think some of the plans and some of the policies the government have are good. The problem is I don't think they're well thought out. So I'll give you an example. The new music hall. How do you say Weiwuyin?
Weiwuyin.
Weiwuyin, right? So beautiful, beautiful facility. One of the best probably worldwide. But are we, we're bringing a few people in. How often is it totally full? Are we bringing in Hong Kong people, Macau? Are people flying in from Tokyo? I mean, if you have concerts I know a lot of my foreign friends will fly to Tokyo. For example, Tokyo just had World Cup for rugby. Thousands, tens of thousands of expatriates in Asia flew to Tokyo to watch those games, right? So I think Taiwan, we build things, but we don't have a very good plan to execute. Like, we build these things, how are we going to? So the only way to do that is to work with business. The government can't spend its money to do these executions, but they need to work closer with business, finding partners that can bring in the concerts, bring in big name events, and then market those in nearby countries. I think that would be really helpful.
Okay, John. Thank you for your time. We are so glad that you invited you to our program. So maybe we can invite you from time to time to join our show. The show's name is Formosa Dialogue. We welcome you so much.
I'd love to come. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.